The 23rd of July over here at the fish pond, and you can see I'm kind of making up a whole bunch of water there, and that's coming out of the garden well. That's more than the amount of evaporation. On a daily basis, I open a drain in the bottom of this above ground pond. It's about 5,000 gallons. It's 4 foot on the outside deep and about 5 foot in the middle, kind of a cone-shaped bottom, to a drain down there, which I can see, but I don't think the camera will pick it up. Yeah, there it is. Look back out a little bit. You can kind of see that round place. It's a drain. It's a 3-inch pipe. And anyway, I drain water out of here and out of the vortex filter to get the mud out of the bottom of these things on a daily basis. 2 nights ago when I was doing this, I heard a clunk when I was draining the big pond, and I reached down in the muck down here where I drain, which is in this hole in the ground, and there's a rock hanging out my ball valve down here. The pipe up in the pond is 3-inch, the ball valve's 2-inch. So there was a rock that apparently, probably a child at some point tossed in. It's kind of a cylindrical shape, and it made its way all the way down through that 3-inch pipe and got jammed in my 2-inch ball valve. I do have a knife valve on that 3-inch that's down inside here. It doesn't seal 100%, so I've still got water coming out quite a bit, as you can see by the makeup water over there. So I've been mucking around here, dug out these concrete sacks, which were kind of the edge of the hole, and I can feel the pipe down there, and basically I'm going to have to cut that off and get the rock out of there and glue it all back together. But I got all that water and it's still, you know, coming out a bit through that knife valve, so I got to come up with a plan to try to shut that water off. I don't want to have to drain this 5,000 gallons of water and fish the fish out of here just to fix this valve. You know, that'd piss the fish off, and I don't feel like having to fish them out of there and then get them back in here. So I'm trying to figure out a way to block that drain enough so I can get it to drip, you know, hardly at all, so I can re-glue these pipes once I get that water drained out and cut the pipe. Here's what I've come up with. I've got this 12-pound shot put, nice and round, a chunk of inner tube, this handle from a pruning tool. I took the saw blade off, and some Canex wire. And I think I'm going to try to make some kind of a inner tube condom for this shot put, and then suspend it from the end of this pole and see if I can just drop this right down on top of that 3-inch drain with the inner tube in between, and it ought to work as a pretty good plug, being as this thing weighs like 12 pounds. Plus, when I cut that pipe off down below, you know, there's a certain amount of water pressure pushing on it as well. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can do this and get that water to slow down enough where I can bail that hole out and cut my pipe and get the rock out of there and glue it back together. I'll just have to be more aware that there might be rocks in the bottom of this thing. Well, here's what I came up with. It's doubled up, and it's wrapped in there where the shot put won't fall out, and when it hangs from the wire, there are no wrinkles down on the bottom, the 3-inch area that I got to seal, and it's on the end of this guy. So I'm going to set that down in there and see if I can bail the water out and it doesn't drip so bad. Fortunately, the water's clear enough I can see clear down to the bottom there, and I can see that drain very clearly. Even though the water's 5 feet deep, it's pretty clear. So we'll go ahead and see if I can get this to sit down on top of there. That's a long, wow. That's a long way out there. Alright. I don't want to disturb any of the stuff that's on the bottom and get it down in between. There we go. I believe. I'm sure I'm sitting. Yep, there we go. So I'm down on top of that drain. Hopefully now that will curb the water flow enough that I'm able to bail out that hole over there and fix that pipe. I guess I gotta go find out. Alright, the water here doesn't look like it's being disturbed, so it's possible that I got it pretty well sealed up. I guess we'll have to see. It's moving a little bit, but we'll see what's up. So basically I've got to empty this guy out and see what I'm dealing with. It's downhill that way, so I got to get on the other side there and try and chuck the water over there. I don't know if I'm in the frame, but this is what I'm doing. I got a bucket here, and then I'll probably have to dig the hole a little deeper once I get down a ways. Before we fill up with water again, I'll show you what I got. I got the two drains coming in here. They're kind of at an angle. And what happened 16 years ago when I put this stuff in was one of two things. I was either too ignorant to know you can marry ABS with PVC using glue, or I was smart enough to know I'd have to take this apart. So the end of the ABS there is threaded, and that valve is threaded onto the ABS. So basically I just got to spread those apart enough to turn that valve off, get that rock out of it, and screw it back on, and I should be good to go. So of those two options, I'm going to say I was smart enough to know I'd be doing this at some point. And anyway, so before we fill up with water here, I'm going to shove a hunk of firewood down in there and spread those two pipes enough to turn that valve off and get it off, and then get that rock out of there. And I'm about out of battery, so I don't think I'll let you watch me do this, but once I get the valve off, we'll come back and I'll show you the rock. Well, I ended up using my tool that I turned those ball valves with down in the water instead to spread those apart, and I got the valve off here. And you can see what we got going on. I got a rock hanging up in it. Some crap on the other side. So I'm going to try to get this rock out without destroying the ball valve. And then I'll thread it back on there and it ought to be good to go. Well, there's the culprit. It was pointed this end here out. Just wouldn't quite go through the valve. And I'm glad I didn't try and force it. It might have screwed something up. But it's out of there now, and what's really sad is I actually recognized this rock from working on the pond over the years. I don't know how it got in the bottom of that pond, but it was there. I have an idea the child probably had something to do with it. But valve's open, looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and thread it back on there and call this little fiasco pretty close to done. I'm going to go ahead and muck out this hole in the ground and make it a little deeper for when I drain. I drain 150 gallons probably a day out of this thing, both out of the vortex filter and out of the bottom of that big pond. They're both settling chambers for mud and stuff. And the vortex filter, all it has is just silt, mud. So I don't have to worry about any debris like this in there. That pond gets pine cones and all kinds of crap in it, tree branches and this and that, but the vegetation will rot over time and eventually make its way out, so I don't worry too much about it. But the rock, yeah, that really put a damper on things. So I'm going to go ahead and put this valve back on before this hole fills up much more. Muck around a little more. Throw these 2 cement bags back in here to kind of keep things freed up on this valve end. And call it good. So, yeah, the 23rd of July out here at the Beetle Barn / Fish Pond. And that's my day. Thanks for watching.